Hello, welcome to episode 40 of the 30 Grandchildren Badge Attempt. We are in the house in the Great Southern Land, and there is Lucy taking care of her forbidden fruit plant. I wonder if she's going to get a plant sim baby or a forbidden fruit when it finally matures and is ready to harvest. I'm wondering if it is a forbidden fruit and she eats it, she'll become a plant sim herself, but since she's already an imaginary friend turned real, I'm wondering if she will continue to have two occult states or if she will have only one, and which one will it be? On the other hand, when she picks it, it could be a baby, and that'll be the second plant sim baby for this household, because Cameron picked his plant sim baby in the previous episode. Little Jacob is sleeping upstairs in his cot at the moment. Wilfred had a wish to improve his sculpting skill, so I got him to start sculpting in ice. Once he's done 25 ice sculptures, then he'll be able to make ice sculptures that never melt. In the meantime, I get him to sell the first 25 sculptures that he does in ice straight away, so they're lucrative. Meanwhile, Lucy has stopped gardening and she's gone downstairs because she's got some more books that she needs to read before she is able to leave the Great Southern Land and go back to Cake Island. And she'll be doing that in this episode. So she'd better get to work reading. There's still plenty of gardening that needs doing. Karen and Cameron are at the very end there in the background. They both need to work on their gardening skill. The others have got up to level 7 of gardening already, but they can still improve their skill, and so they're helping out with the garden. It needs a lot of work every day. Oh, Wilfred has finished his sculpture. He made a chair. He can sell that now, get some simoleons for it. If anybody sits on an icy chair, they'll get a freezing moodlet. But he's selling it straight away because it's going to melt. And if he doesn't sell it, well then he won't get any money at all, but 2,599 simoleons was worth getting. And he can keep working on his sculpting skill, making more and more ice sculptures until he's got 25 of them made. And I can assure you he won't get to 25 ice sculptures in this episode. Watch him closely here. He licks it and his tongue gets stuck. They do that sometimes. He's going to have to start another ice sculpture. That's it, at least he's still got his tongue, I hope. I guess he's a bit embarrassed though. Lucy's still reading, and now Constance has joined her. Constance has got some extra recipes to read because her cooking skill just went up by one level. She came from Cake Island just recently so she could meet and marry her future husband, Chris. And Kendall's here from Cake Island to meet and marry his future wife, Karen. And in the background behind Kendall, you can see Constance's imaginary friend made real, Bruce. And he is working on the science machine. He wants to improve the science skill, but mostly he's trying to turn one of these seeds into a forbidden fruit seed because he wants to grow a forbidden fruit. That's an interesting painting all made up of coloured squares. It's not finished yet. I just told Karen, Kendall's future wife, to finish off her painting, and she's come to do just that. Downstairs I found Chris was sitting on the seat next to his future wife, Constance, while she was reading. Lucy's gone off somewhere. And that's Klaus, the new sim I've just added to the household. He's got a lot of work to do to improve his studies. He's got working on his fishing skill at the moment. Kendall's just sold another ice sculpture and he's about to start another one. I think he might have learnt not to lick at the ice block when he gets a new one. It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning and Kendall's working on his ice sculptures still. The garden is about to all age up. You'll see it suddenly get looking like it's never been tended, and that forbidden fruit plant should become ready to harvest. There it goes, you can see the garden. Now they've got to get back to work and do their gardening again. When we see the weeds appear around the forbidden fruit plant, we'll know it'll be ready to pick. I have to get Lucy to come down and pick it, because she wanted it, and if it's a baby, she can look after it. She's an imaginary friend made real, so she will be moving out into her own home when she gets back to Cake Island. That's Clara. She got her traits fixed in the last episode. She's no longer unstable and evil and insane. And I thought Lucy was evil, but apparently she's not. She is mean-spirited. Oh, it's the baby, and let's hope she looks after it properly. A baby girl, and I thought she'd get a name that sounds a little bit like her mother's name. So we called her Lucinda. Here we go. She's just been picked. She's wrapped up in brown. Luckily there's a spare cot upstairs in the nursery room with little Jacob. There he is. And there's Lucy putting her little Lucinda to sleep. Plant sim babies are much easier to look after than other babies, although you still need to potty train them so you can choose their trait when they age up from toddler to child. And now it's time for the big wedding. We saw their romance happening in the previous episode and they've engaged. Now it's time for them to get married. And we've come to the dome, to the little wedding centre that I've added to the basement in the dome. So this is Joni getting married to Jack, and Joni travelled with her brother and sister Kendall and Constance from Cake Island so they could meet their future spouses. And that was Constance, just sat down with the stripy red and white dress on, and Karen, who's going to marry Kendall, in the pink that sat in the front row, and the one on the right, fair hair there, that is Chris, who's going to marry Constance. This is an imaginary friend made real, Cameron. Joni gets upset when there's too many people around. Just waiting for the ceremony to begin. Here we go. It's beginning. And she's giving Jack his ring. And he's giving her her ring. And now they're married. How exciting. Congratulations. Only 2 couples to go and we'll have had all 15 of Gerri's children married. There doesn't seem to be very many guests at the wedding. I did invite other Sims, but it looks like only the household members managed to show up. The wedding was still able to go ahead. I ignore that bloke in the red and white striped shirt with the top hat on. He's never invited, but he always shows up. I think he's supposed to be tending one of the booths upstairs in the dome. It's time to cut the cake. Cake cutting is done. And now everybody can come and get a piece. I think there should be a piece from just about everybody that's here. I could force them to have a piece of cake for everybody by stopping them from getting their cake and telling Jack to serve the cake to everybody. I've got a mod that would make sure that there was enough servings for everybody who's there to get a piece. I did do that a few times with birthday cakes in another series of videos, but it was a bit hit and miss when I could actually stop them from getting their piece of cake first, so I don't bother anymore. I just make sure there's plenty of food in the buffet so that nobody actually goes hungry. That Klaus he can't help himself, he's just so evil. That's why I like having him in the game. Constance is going to serve the buffet. So now they've all got something to eat. Constance is next in line to get married to Chris, but Karen might get married before, but she's going to marry Kendall. So we'll just see how things sort themselves out. Time for the dancing to begin. First it's the bride and groom who start dancing together to celebrate their wedding, and then they're soon joined by the other 2 couples who are to be married to each other. It won't be long before all of Gerri's 15 children have got married. These are the final 3 couples. And 1 has already been married, so there's only 2 weddings to go. Isn't that exciting? We're getting close to the end. Oh dear. Looks like Jack's having trouble dancing without kicking poor Joni. And then it was time to return to Cake Island, and this time a whole lot of Sims went. In the end, the only Sims left in the Great Southern Land turned out to be Constance and Chris. When the travellers arrived in Cake Island, I had to find a place for Joni and Jack to live in, and most of the houses available were quite small, so I decided to find an empty lot and place one of my generic family homes onto it. It doesn't really look like a Cake Island type of house, but maybe I'll update it at some point. I added some playground equipment around the lot. I'll give you a very quick look through. The bedroom's on the second level. And the ground floor is where they live, kitchen, dining and that sort of thing. Up the third level, just a few skilling things there. There's plenty of scope for personalisation of this house. Now hopefully you have seen enough around the house to see they've got heaps of room for them to have their babies and raise their family. And there's Joni playing her guitar in the front yard of the house. She loves that guitar. And we're back at Gerri's place now, where all the children grew up. And here is Bruce planting that forbidden fruit seed that he managed to make back in the Great Southern Land. He planted the seed and then he fertilised it. And then he headed off to do some more gardening. And there is Wilfred, but he's going up the steps. And I believe Karen is on the other side of the garden doing some gardening, building up her gardening skill even further. Rachel had completed all of her skill training and she moved out into this house. I think it's called the Blueberry Pie House, and it's got a computer, and she went straight to it and was playing happily. I've put several Sims into this house and none of them have stayed there so far. I hope she stays. And Cameron has moved into the Strawberry Cupcake house, and he took his little plant sim baby son Joseph with him. There's a nursery as well as 2 bedrooms, so Joseph will have a big bed to move into once he grows out of his cot. This house is all decorated in pink, and I have moved another sim in here previously, and they've obviously moved out. So I didn't need to do any upgrading of any furniture. It had already all been done. I just don't remember who was in here. I hope they're still in the game. And here's a quick look upstairs at Cameron and Jacob's place. It's all pink upstairs as well. Back at Gerri's place, Bruce is heading off upstairs. He's finished his gardening. Klaus is trying to frighten the life out of Lucy again. And Kendall's listening to the music. I'm not quite sure about Klaus. He wants to be a master romancer, which means he needs to woo-hoo in 5 different places with 5 different Sims. And he's not having any luck with any of the Sims at the moment. He's more interested in frightening them, which isn't making him very popular with anyone. The next day, Bruce is back to look after his forbidden fruit plant, and then he'd just do a little bit of gardening. He needs to improve his gardening skill, and the gardening needs doing. This is Gerri's garden. She still hasn't got her lifetime wish, which is to have a perfect garden. She still needs to get 2 more perfect plants, but I don't know what perfect plant she's already had. So there's Lucy. She's got another wish for another forbidden fruit plant. So she's trying to make herself a forbidden fruit seed at the moment. I know I shouldn't let her do this, but What the heck? I'm going to move her out with her plant sim babies, or baby, depend if she has another one or not. I won't have to worry about them, but I am planning a future game where I've only got plant sims, and I want to gather all of the plant sims that I've got in all of my games together into one save. I've had that thought for quite a while now. I wonder if I actually do it. And if I do, I'll make a video of it, of course. When I first got the idea, I had almost no plant sims because I hardly ever play with the plant sim. I've been trying to remedy that lately. Oh, that didn't work. She lost the seed. Hopefully she's got some more seeds in her pocket. I'm sure she has. Yeah, she's got a few more seeds. She's going to put another one in there. She'll get another forbidden fruit seed for sure. Wow, she's happy. She's a happy little imaginary friend. She's got her seed. Now she better go plant it. She can plant it next to where Bruce planted his forbidden fruit seed. Of course, he'll be picking his forbidden fruit quite a while before Lucy picks hers. First of all, they're planted, which is what hers is now. Then they become a sprout the next day. The following day they're growing. And then they become mature, and then the next day, the 5th day, they be ready to harvest. So she's going to go and do some more gardening, and so are the others. I think Klaus is the one who needs to do the most gardening because all of his skills are the lowest. Everybody else has had a few more sessions to have a chance to develop their skills. He's been doing quite a lot of fishing since he's been here. So we've got a gathering upstairs, and this is the first time we've seen Gerri. I think that's her just stood up. That's the mother of 15 children. Wilfred's gone to have a chat with his mother. The two sitting down reading are both imaginary friends made real. And then, although I've got aging turned on, is happening very slowly, and it amuses me greatly to see Gerri is still a young adult, as are all 15 of her children. It's because they're all instant babies, and I aged them up with birthday cakes, and I haven't aged her up yet. It's my fault. So the two imaginary friends made real are studying, reading books. I think it's time for Wilfred to start working on his romance, and he and his future spouse Karen just gone off together to the festival grounds where they've decided to compete in a hot dog eating contest. I suspect they're not going to win. Neither of them will win. There's a burglar there, and a burglar is one of the competitors, so I'm not sure what would happen if the burglar doesn't win. Looks like we're not going to find out because the burglar did win. Standing up waiting for the others to finish eating. Uh-oh, Karen's gone off to be sick. That happens sometimes when there's a hot dog eating contest. I think she can go and do some roller skating now. She's pretty good at roller skating. Hope this final pair will hurry up and finish. I think it's a brother and sister, Kendall and his married sister Demetria. And Demetria's already had one baby, but it won't count. So Karen's going over. We'll watch her doing some roller skating. Then they've got to hurry up and get ready to leave because they've decided to go back to the Great Southern Land to join Chris and Constance there so they can go on dates together as a foursome and then have a double wedding. There's a lot more fun places for them to go to in the Great Southern Land than they have in Cake Island, There's a few of them skating now, and there is Karen showing off her skill spinning in the middle of the roller skating rink. Might leave them there. We don't necessarily want to watch them skate for half an hour. They can stay there and enjoy themselves, and then when they've finished, they can head off to the Great Southern Land together. As they travelled, I read the suggestion that you buy a guitar for your singing sim so they could use the guitar when they sing, when they perform a song. I thought that'd be a good idea. I haven't tried that. Then they arrived at the base camp, and I transferred them to the house where everybody lives when they're in the Great Southern Land. Then I got Kendall to let Bernhilda out of her coffin because Bruce has gone to live in Cake Island now. It was early in the morning, the next morning, I noticed Kendall and Connie having a conversation, and then they decided that they'd all go to breakfast at the diner together. So off they went. It was a very early breakfast, and Kendall happened to throw a wish to join the singing career. So I thought, now that is my chance to remember, or try to remember, to let him join that career and then put the guitar in his inventory and see what happens. So they decided they'd sit out the front at the diner to eat their breakfast, but they each had to go inside to get what they wanted to eat. There were 4 Sims in the group. There was more than one table outside, so I took a bet for them to decide firstly which table they would sit at, and then they had to decide which chair each one would individually choose to sit on. They did eventually work it out. Karen, of course, was the first one out with her meal and the last one to sit down, but she did. They all sat and ate together, enjoying the sunrise and looking forward to a happy day to develop their relationships. They're already best friends with their intended future spouses. I don't know what each of them had for breakfast, but obviously whatever Kendall had, it was hot. He stood up and steam came out of his ears, so he sat down and blew fire onto the breakfast table, thereby ending everybody's breakfast, and Chris found himself burning. Everybody panicked. That big blue genie is Jacko Jackson. He's a genie I made way back when I first started making genies. Obviously I had trouble working out a name for him, but he was very good. He put the fire out of the table. That is Phil Oxley that just ran up there. He's got his back to us. He was the first werewolf I ever made in one of my games. Karen's gone off somewhere. Kendall's watching. He eventually decides he'd prefer to be dumpster diving than watching Chris burn to death. Constance was very quick to act and she put him out. So Chris survived, thanks to Constance. I had been wondering what to do with them after they had breakfast and was thinking about sending them across the road to the bowling alley, but everybody seems to go there lately. However, Chris had to either go home for a shower or go across the road to the bowling alley for a shower. So I sent them all across the road. There's Penny, she's just come in and left again. Obviously didn't like the look of who was there bowling. There was a little bit of bowling happened, and then Chris got accosted by a woman with short dark hair and ended up dancing with her, which upset Constance. So then Constance started dancing with Walter Thompson for a bit, and now Chris and Constance are no longer best friends. So that was all a bit complicated, but they all went home. When Constance finally got home, Walter Thompson called and wanted to talk to her, but she wouldn't talk to him. I think she still really hopes that things will work out between her and Chris. Then it was decided that all 4 of them would go out on a double date together at the Blue Water Fun Park. So that's where they headed next. Constance and Chris were still good friends, but they weren't best friends. Karen and Kendall, however, were still best friends now. Here they are. They've just arrived at the fun park. They're going to spread out first and have a bit of a look around and see what they can see. And Walter Thompson continues to want to talk to Constance, and she still keeps saying no and hanging up on him. We'll see how much longer that goes on for. I think Chris was pretty keen to have a go on the water slide, the slip and slide. It was getting late and some of them hadn't managed to finish their breakfast, so there was a few hungry sims, and Karen decided to go up to the professional bar and the dance floor and order some fish and chips. She was hoping that nobody would catch them on fire after eating fish and chips. And while Karen did that, Kendall waited for it to be served, and the other pair, namely Constance and Chris, went up 2 levels to the top level and caught a ride on the roller coaster. So I guess their fish and chips might be a bit cold by the time they get finished with their ride, because the ride on this roller coaster goes for ages. It takes approximately 1 sim hour to complete the ride. So that ride went well. They gained extra friendship points and nobody was sick when they got off. So now they can go down to eat their fish and chips that are waiting for them at the bar. Interesting how they chose their tables to sit at. Nobody sat with Kendall. Kendall must have got a bit bored sitting on his own, and he suddenly got the idea that he wanted to do some exploring around the fun park grounds while the rest of them ate their fish and chips. Looks like Chris is enjoying his fish and chips. It must be his favourite meal because he clapped for it. There goes Kendall. Once they'd all finished eating, they went down 1 level and started playing games on the various arcade machines that were waiting for them. It's a shame there's no fairies in the group because the fairies can ride the train. But that is the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you've made it all the way to the end. And if you want to see the next episode and you haven't subscribed yet, well, then it could be a really good idea if you did subscribe now. Subscribing and liking and commenting all help my videos greatly when it comes to YouTube. Episode 41 will begin with them here playing on the arcade machines at the Blue Waters Fun Park. So bye bye for now. Thank you for watching and happy simming.